Welcome to the Primal Pursuits podcast, where we delve into fitness, nutrition, mindset, and business. Join us on our journey to an optimal living. Welcome to the show.
We have been talking for quite some time about getting a podcast going together and having the conversations with people that are successful in life, that are amazing at getting primal in their pursuits. And so Canyon and I are going to start this first episode off just having a conversation about how we came to this point and what the purpose and goals are of the podcast, as well as the other things that we are working on together to not only build a better life for ourselves, but also to help influence and lead other people to experience the same type of success. So to get started here, Canyon, why don't you tell us just a little bit about yourself, a little bit about your background, and what kind of things drive you and have gotten you to this point where you are compelled to join on this journey.
So I'm Canyon, born and raised in Utah. I'm 26 years old. I have a beautiful wife and a beautiful daughter. Sailor's my daughter. She is a little over a year old, about 16 months. And my wife and I have been married for 3 years, just barely passing that in this last June. So that's been a fun adventure, wild ride. Growing up, just loved sports, loved being active. Not necessarily in the gym, but anything that would sort of elevate my performance when it comes to like football or baseball, basketball, tennis, you name it. And it was probably my junior year I really started getting into like the fitness aspect of things, like in the gym, eating right. Cause before that, as a kid, you're slamming pizzas and burgers and honestly just eating whatever is going to give you energy. And I started really dialing it in, eating the good old chicken and rice, and started lifting. And so I've been doing that for about 10 years now. And sort of like the motivation and drive to get into the gym was honestly just feeling inadequate, just feeling like, I wasn't at where I felt like I should have been at mainly. And, you see all these movies and these actors, they're jacked, and, there's this awe and this lure to aspire to be like these guys. I don't even know what movie it was, but there was one guy specifically, no idea what his name is, but I just remember thinking, wow, like he's pretty jacked, and I feel like I could get like that, but man, would that be so cool? And so yeah, I just started going to the gym, and it wasn't like everybody when they first go. It's pretty intimidating, right? You don't know what to do, you don't know like how much to lift, you don't know the form, you don't know any of it. You kind of just go in and throw some weight around and screw up, maybe get hurt a little bit. But yeah, I just started doing that and really being consistent with it. And as you go, you learn. And yeah, like I said, I'm 10 years in and learned a lot, still have a lot to go, but I'd say I've built a pretty good foundation, not only like physically, but also on the mental side of things. And we'll get into it, but fitness has shaped and made me who I am, and has affected every aspect, I feel like, whether it comes to being a dad or a husband or a son, brother. And so yeah, it's been, life changing. So
Yeah, I love that. And it's been fun to watch your journey. And what's interesting is that your drive and your passion correlates a little bit with my journey also. I very much like you grew up loving sports, athletics, being very competitive and driven. But as I got older, got into my 30s, started to get a little bit of the table muscle around the midsection and not really the same type of shape, not the same energy. And about the same time frame, maybe 10 years ago or so, decided to start running and getting in better shape. And ironically, the place that aha moment happened for me, I was on a deer hunt. I shot this pretty good buck, and I was in a very steep mountain, and shot the deer. He dropped out of sight, and I thought, man, I got to get up there quick and get another shot if I didn't knock him down with that first shot. And so I hurried up there as fast as I could, and it was probably over 10, 11,000 feet elevation, this particular mountain, very high. And once I got up there to the deer, I couldn't breathe very well. I felt like I was going to pass out. I was dizzy. And I just remember having this moment where I thought, man, this sucks. I feel miserable. I feel terrible. I'm out of shape. here I am doing something that I love very much and that I'm passionate about, and I'm not able to enjoy it because I can't even catch my breath. So that was about 10 years ago for me as well. And so I started running and getting in shape and getting fit. And just like you're saying, Canyon, very important as a father, now as a grandfather, to have that fitness and to be in shape, to have energy and to have bandwidth and the mental capacity, and just to feel good about myself, have confidence to lead my family and to be able to play with the grandkids and play with my kids, and still be competitive even at 50 years old and sports or golf or anything that I'm doing. Just love having that energy and capacity to do whatever I want, to feel a little bit limitless when it comes to anything that I want to engage in. Really, to get back to the root of, why this podcast, Canyon, in your view, what is it about having these types of conversations or leading guests into conversations where they can share their journey with others is compelling to you? Why do you think that's a worthwhile pursuit for us to joining this venture on the podcast?
For me, mainly what it is I'm part of that Gen Z group. I've kind of grown up sort of like played outside as a kid, but I also did have that technology coming up, and I quickly saw the benefit and like the advantages of being able to tune into these kind of things, whether it's content or people that are in places where I want to be. Right? It's I mean, back then I don't really know like for you how that was, like finding who your inspiration was and sort of trying to tune into their lives or figure out like what they did to kind of set themselves apart. But nowadays it's so easy, right? You find someone
Mm-hmm.
exactly in the spot where you want to be. And if they're a lot of them, they do have podcasts or share content, and you can kind of get glimpses on what sets them apart, like what's their day to day, right? And I think for me specifically, like I didn't have any brothers or anybody to sort of look up to that was my age in sports or whatnot. And so I started tuning into like podcasts here a few years ago, whether it comes to like business or fitness, and really taking some valuable lessons. What these guys are sharing, it's awesome to be able to just sit down and watch your inspirations and hear what they do on a day-to-day basis and see if you can implement that in your day-to-day and see those changes throughout the years. So I think that's for me, it's being able to provide a place where business minds or fitness minds or just people that aspire to just live a pretty normal life but want to improve certain aspects of it, being able to provide that space where we can have these open conversations with people that have been successful in different areas, right? To take pieces of what each person has experienced and seeing how that can fit in our lives and how to improve it basically day after day. So that's my main thing.
Yeah, I love that. I know, for me, I've shared this. I've been a guest on lots of different podcasts over the years, and I host one for the last 5 years for in my professional life for our software company. But Cameron Haynes was a big inspiration for me back then. He was an amazing bow hunter, incredible athlete, endurance runner, running not only marathons but ultra marathons and running the mountains, lifting weights, being fit. James Lawrence here in Cowboy. He's married to my first cousin, Sonny Joe, and I ran my first marathon with him 5 months after starting on that journey, and they were very inspirational for me too. So just like you, the podcast, the social media, the other influencers out there that inspire us, I think are an incredible tool and a resource that we all have access to very easily. Um, and I think with this podcast, one of the things that I feel intent on is maybe getting to not necessarily a hack or a shortcut, but I guess learning from the lessons learned and the wisdom of people like this that have found um, ways to success, and that have maybe taken the bumps and bruises, but figured out, again, not necessarily a shortcut but more efficient way to get to achieving their goals. And I think even in the name, Primal Pursuits, I mean, that's within all of us. Every one of us have that core drive or principle or passion or something that we feel like we identify with, or even that we'd like to identify with. I think that's part of the purpose of life, is figuring out that path for you that brings that fulfillment, that joy, that purpose, that really fills you up, fills your cup, makes you feel not only motivated and driven, but more complete, like you're really doing what you were put here on this earth to do. And so I think that's the one challenge with influencers and social media and Hollywood and all those things is, a lot of people, and we're all guilty of this in some form or fashion. We're kind of living a double life in one way or another, where we're trying to be our very best when we're in the public and when people are watching. But what are we doing in the dark alone? What are we doing when there's nobody around? Are we that same person? Is there alignment and integrity between who we're trying to portray that we are versus who we really are inside? And so I like the idea of going on a journey to figure out people that have been able to do a better job of that alignment and having that integrity, and what it is they're doing to figure out, okay, regardless of whether the camera's on or not, or whether I'm recording something on my phone or I'm just enjoying something on my own, are those the same thing? And what can we do to make sure that we're more in alignment and integrity in the way that we live our lives, whether again anyone else is watching or not? Does that make sense to you? Do you agree with that, or what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's kind of like what you said about, being and doing the things and being the person that you are in the dark, compared to in the light. I think it's super easy nowadays, right, with
Mm-hmm.
social media to show just the highlights and put on a facade on, oh, this is the person I am, and then, when the camera turns off
Yeah.
or you're not posting, like what are you doing on a day-to-day basis? And I think like with fitness specifically,
Mm.
it's pretty tough to fake, the lifestyle. Like you have to be living it day in and day out, whether it's eating healthier or your work ethic in the gym. Like it shows. It's one of those first things. Like I think a cool thing with fitness specifically is you can tell without even talking to someone if they're in shape, they have good work ethic, and they can be consistent just because
Mm.
the being able to build that physique, like regardless of how many steroids you inject yourself with, like it doesn't matter, right? The work and the commitment, consistency will shine through. So I think that's something that's super important to think about.
Yeah, there's a phrase, and I've heard a lot of people share it. I know Cameron Haynes is talking about it in the past, and it's the mountains don't lie. What it means is when you're up there on a rigorous hunt, or when you're up hiking in rugged terrain and in the elements, when there's weather and darkness and bears and other things that are
Yeah.
actually a legitimate danger to your life if you're not careful and prepared. The mountain doesn't care who you are. Like it's not going to change for you because you're this social media influencer or because you have millions of dollars in your bank account. The mountain doesn't care at all. Like it doesn't matter. It's the great equalizer. And so I think what you're talking about with the gym is the same thing. It's like, those weights aren't going to magically move themselves just because you've got a really glamorous smile and and a great radio voice, right?
Yeah.
Obviously that's instructed your life and kind of pushed you in a direction. You found yourself on a journey um, professionally. And maybe you can share a little bit about some of the things that you've done and maybe where you're at right now and what your drive is today and what are your primal pursuits, aside from the gym. What else are you after and what are you doing to achieve those goals?
I think, just as a father and as a man innately, my instinct is to be a provider, to be able to provide that life that my wife and my daughter can, feel safe and feel like limitless when it comes to, what they can do or what we can create and the joy that we can have. And so, I mean, right now, like I'm in the journey just as much as every single one of you. Like it's, I haven't made it to the top of the mountain. I'm in the trenches doing the things day in and day out. What I've done and what like kind of what I've taken from, my first little bit of success that I saw in the gym, just kind of like what were my daily habits, what was I doing on a consistent basis to be able to provide results, and I'm applying that, to a business mindset, right? So we have a supplement company that we have started. Obviously hasn't been easy, right? There are things and problems that you have to face every single day to be able to continue progressing. I think to keep it simple, it boils down to just being consistent, doing the things day in and day out, regardless of if you're saying, results instantaneously. I think that's really hard, especially nowadays, right? With the instant gratification. A lot of people just give up, in the first couple weeks, first month, right? Even podcasts, right? They say what 99% don't even get past the eighth. I don't know the specific number, but
Yeah,
something
yeah,
like that. And so right now it's the goals to provide that life for my family. It's that we can feel that comfort and joy in knowing and benefiting from the fruits of the labors that I've been putting in, that my wife's been putting in day in and day out.
yeah. And obviously, we're in very different places because I have 30 years of additional business experience. Over what you do probably today. That entrepreneurial spirit, that desire to provide for yourself. You mentioned the word provider. I love that word. I think that's important to me as well. And the other part of it, which I think this is pretty intuitive to what you said, providing isn't just financial. It's not just keeping the lights on and the air conditioner running or the fridge full, but you mentioned so they can feel safe, and then also so that they can have their dreams come true also. So that, and you mentioned them being limitless. So to you, what does that look like? I mean, what do you envision, or what do you aspire or hope to be able to provide for your family when it comes to those other things?
The word limitless means like unbounded, like unchained, or if you are chained, like breaking through those shackles and not limiting your mindset. Like, hey, this is the
Mm.
world, it's my oyster. Like I can create and do anything that I set my mind to. And for me, I want to be that example. I want to
Mm.
prove, like, hey, specifically for my daughter right now, and my future kids, I want to be that person that's like, hey, if you put in the work every single day, day in and day out, you can literally do anything. So whether you want to be a gymnast, dancer, basketball player, like, or you stay at home mom, anything, right? That you can achieve that and be the best version of that person that you have in your mind. And so that for me is what limitless means.
Yeah, that I love the words best version that you said, because again, there are, your mom, my wife, is a stay-at-home mom, and she's worked on and off at different times for a different purpose, not always because of the financial uh, side of things that was needed, but maybe the fulfillment side. So sometimes being a stay-at-home mom means different things to different people, but to your point, having that best version of what that looks like for the individual is really the key. And so, in my case, I mean, you saw it growing up. I mean, I've been an entrepreneur your whole life,
Yeah.
most of my whole life. I worked for just a few people early on to get my start, but essentially have had to carve my own path and figure out, working with partners or other people, how to work together for a common goal. And part of this journey, you mentioned starting Primal Performance Supplements. That's been a goal and something that I've been passionate about for, well, pretty much that whole 10 years that we just talked about. Also, I mean, I had this idea and this desire over a decade ago, but because of my professional pursuits, because of a software company I'm a partner in and was running, had other priorities that had to take, precedence. And so that had to go on the back shelf. And recently we sold that business, and now I have more time and more resources and the ability to have dominion over more of my time. And so I choose to spend that, helping you build this. And I'm excited about this podcast. Again, been a long time coming. And it's like, they talk about people that or a book writer or an author of some sort. And a lot of people out there, I think, have a book in them, but most don't ever publish it, right? They never actually write it. They have a story to tell and to share and wisdom that they can impart and really enrich the lives of others. But a lot of those, it's like a song that goes unsung. Um, and I just, like you, I don't want to go to the grave having not, done more of my part to share the things that we're passionate about and that we're trying to accomplish from a fitness perspective, from just a better life perspective, having a more meaningful existence, again, having that health, being that provider, not just financially and emotionally and spiritually of our families, but also leading by example and actually showing people, like you said, being unshackled and unchained and being limitless, being able to pursue the things that make you happy and that bring you actual joy, not temporary happiness, not just Disneyland fun, but really impactful, meaningful fulfillment. And so yeah, I'm super excited to help people have a healthier life, through proper supplementation. Um, so how did you get to where you are today with when it comes to the supplement side of things and what you know about them, what you've learned, and what you've helped to create with Primal Performance Supplements?
Yeah, I mean, I think I've been into supplements just as long as I've been into like the gym and fitness, right? You hear about the kids that are like snorting C4 pre-workout before a football game. Was never one of those guys, but like that's kind of always been coupled with activity in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
Like specifically caffeine or pre-workout. So yeah, I mean, I just remember at around the time I started with the gym, I was looking up, okay, like what are the other things that I can do when I'm not in the gym
Mm-hmm.
to increase those results, right? Because if I'm going to be putting in the work, I might as well get the most of it, right? I might as well see
Yep.
the most possible results that I can. And so that led me down the path of watching a ton of YouTube videos, right? My age, it was an awesome resource. I learned everything from YouTube when it comes to the lifts, the supplementation, the food, all of the above. And so, yeah, I started really diving in deep to what are those micro habits or micro things that you can do to not only increase your performance inside the gym while you're lifting the weights, but get the results after. So I would Google everything, um, watch the videos, like I said, and I would just try a bunch of things. Like, hey, what works for me? I think it's important to take supplements with a grain of salt, right? It's not the end all be all. It's an additional tool. It's not the foundation of results. I think it can make working out and fitness a lot more fun. Slamming some pre-workout, feeling that caffeine rush and that mental drive, and then being able to apply that into the gym. I think that for me has more solidified that habit of going to the gym. That's sort of like the
Mm-hmm.
ritual that I've been a part of. But yeah, as far as like supplementation, I think probably four years ago, I really started diving in deep to the actual like behind the scenes, like, okay, what ingredients in certain foods do I need to be making sure that I take? Um, like what amino acids do I need to be using? Protein, like what type, what absorbs the best?
Mm-hmm.
What like caffeine, right? Caffeine's sort of like a blanket ingredient, but diving in deeper to that, like what type of caffeine's the best for this scenario, right? So kind of became a little nerd on that and sort of been in that journey for the past 4 years of really diving into the literature and the studies with different ingredients. And then like beyond all that, just trying everything, seeing what
Mm-hmm.
works for me, what doesn't. It's not the cool thing with supplements. It's not like a one size fits all, right? Everybody processes things differently. What works for
Mm-hmm.
me is not going to work for you necessarily, right? And so I love having that knowledge to know, okay, here's a group of things that can benefit me, and then picking apart, each individual ingredient to see how big of an impact, and then, getting rid of the ones that don't necessarily affect me positively. So that's kind of been my journey. And I've tried every single pre-workout on the market that, has a decent sized name, and even some little companies. And I loved to figure out, okay, like, what do I like about this product from this
Hmm.
company? What do I want to see? Like, what would be my dream product, right? If I could just take, it's kind of, for me specifically, that it's a one size fits all. If I take one scoop, it has all the benefits that I want in that moment, and throw that into some powder. So that's
Mm.
kind of been my journey to get to this point, of starting Primal Performance Subs.
So with that, I mean, when you look at and talk to other people, when you look at what's in the market, when you hear people talk, you see people that are very committed to a brand and maybe the marketing side of a brand even more than, you know, a specific product line or the overall benefit. What comes to mind for you? What do you wish those people could understand better, or what would you tell them in place of what they currently think?
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense, right? Like, everybody holds tight to a certain brand, when it comes to, it's not like Nike, for example, right? It's not like their shoes are the best shoe, right? They have that brand behind it, and people feel cool wearing it, right? Um, I think there's that in every space, and especially with
Hmm.
supplementation. However, right, if you're going to be taking something that's like I said earlier, you might as well get the best benefit from it, and ingredients in the right dosages, the right type of ingredient to make the most of your workout, or whatever you're taking the supplement to accomplish. So
Mm.
that's what I'd like to put focus on, is not only just taking this and having that placebo effect, but
Right.
regardless of placebo or not, is that product going to actually work? Is the money that I'm spending, like, am I making the most of it, essentially?
Yeah, I love that you acknowledge, the Nike example is really a good one. Part of it is how you feel wearing the brand. Um, if you fly that flag for this brand that you love, or this company, or this leadership team of a given company or product line, and you align with them and their ideals, or their value system, um, that's cool. Like, that's totally fine. But I think, Canyon, what you're saying is, that's fine, and it's good to feel good about that also. I mean, there is actually, you mentioned the word placebo. There is a benefit to feeling like, okay, I'm more limitless when I take XYZ, protein or pre-workout, because I identify with this brand. So I feel like a more powerful person. I feel like I'm more committed. Maybe you're going to work a little more diligently because of that. Well, it would be a placebo effect in terms of actual chemistry and biology.
Mm,
But aside from the mental side, what you're talking about is the actual physical benefit, the actual chemical benefit to your biology, which, again, I think you and I are in great alignment here. I was on a podcast recently, and they were asking me about Primal Performance Subs. Tell us about this brand. And I told them exactly what you just shared. I said, when we were meeting with the ingredient team at our manufacturer and going through this latest product, Apex, that we're just barely releasing here in these last few days, they said, "Man, this is a juicy product. This is very unique. We've never really built a product like this." And they did also say, candidly, you really actually have two products in this. Like,
mm.
there's more here than just a pre workout. And really, you could split these off and have two different products and monetize that. And what was your response to that? And how does that line up with what you said before?
Yeah, perfect. Right. That's exactly what I want. Right. Because, I mean, me specifically, I don't know how many of you out there do the same thing, but, like, I would take a scoop of pre-workout before my day at work. Like, it
Mm-hmm.
wasn't it wasn't just because how the way it made me feel, right? Like, I was just I was tuned, and I was ready to go, right? And I wanted to feel that not only in the gym, but in every
Mm,
aspect of my day, right? And the gym's only a couple hours of it. So what about the 14 other hours that I'm awake, right? And so I wanted something that you could take not only in the gym, but whether you're gonna do a podcast like this, or
yep.
whether you're gonna go to work and or study or take a test. Like, I didn't want there to be a limit on, oh, I can only take it during this, because there are actual beneficial ingredients like methylated B vitamins that you need to be taking every single day. But if you're only going to the gym 4 times, and guess what?
Good
What if you
point.
go to the gym after work, right? And you don't want the caffeine or the stimulant? You're probably not going to take it. So it's like you're missing out on these additional ingredients. When we were making Apex, that's kind of what I had in the back of my mind.
Hmm. So you mentioned the word methylated B vitamins. So what to those that don't know, what does that mean, methylated?
Yeah, methylated B vitamins are just the pre like activated form. Some people have uh, certain gene codes, like me, for example. I don't quote me, but it's like the MTHFR gene or something. It's a certain mutation that actually a lot of the population has, where you can't activate certain B vitamins, right? So if you're taking just a regular over the counter B vitamin, your body's not able to process that in the way that it
Mm.
should or as effectively. And so you're missing out on those benefits.
I, like you, have been a nerd on supplements. I've tried everything on the market. I've aligned with certain brands. Sometimes, again, from a more of a, I guess, an ideology effect, like the Nike thing, where I have loyalty to a brand, and then you end up taking more of those instead of maybe finding, okay, I love their protein, but I want someone else's pre-workout, and then I like creatine, but I like this particular creatine from this other brand, and so on and so forth. What you're saying is a lot of people, regardless of the brand, if they're not taking a product that is pre-methylated or is actually happening for them, their body's not going to get to any of those benefits, and they're really just kind of flushing that benefit down the toilet, right?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I mean, quite literally, you'll pee out the B
Yeah,
vitamins you can't process. So
yeah. So the other thing, that so we talked about, really, there's in Apex, there's really two products in one. What's the
mhm.
other side of that, aside from just the pre-workout side?
Yeah, so apart from like the vasodilation and blood flow, as well as like in the mitochondria energy that helps with the lifting, we've also added alpha GPC, uridine 5 monophosphate, new level, which is awesome. It's these ingredients are not only to provide mental clarity and blood flow to the brain, but also enhances motivation through increased dopamine, right? We have L-tyrosine, which is one of the building blocks to. If you don't have tyrosine in your body, you're not going to have the right building blocks to achieve these dopamine levels, right? And we've all heard of dopamine, like, oh, I got to hit a
Yep.
dopamine, this cool music and all that stuff. One, that's wrong. You don't get hits of dopamine from music. Dopamine is the molecule of more, right? It it gives you that drive, that pursuit, right? In pursuit of things, that's where the dopamine comes into place. Maybe you're just having a bad day or kind of feeling a slump, don't feel that energy necessarily, right? I wanted to be able to provide some of those building blocks to be able to get the foundation to finally get in that headspace of, okay, maybe I can push a little more, or maybe I can achieve this goal.
Yeah, so you're talking about a cognitive function, a brain motivation, drive, discipline, mental fortitude that doesn't come with some of these other products, right? Just a caffeine stim, and that's what you
Mhm.
get, right?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, a lot of you'll see alpha GPC and a few other products, but it's like you really don't see the methylated B vitamins mixed with the alpha GPC. You never see uridine 5 monophosphate in there. These are just extra building blocks that are very important when it comes to creating the atmosphere where your brain can feel activated as well, right? It's not just a caffeine stim.
Love that. And just before this podcast, and the people that follow me and friends of mine know, I'm a big believer in cold plunging. I did a cold plunge right before this. I took some Apex. When I'm dialed in, I feel great. I feel refreshed. Here we are in the middle of the afternoon, and I'm feeling like it's morning on a fresh new day, and it's because of those other things that I'm doing that are helping add that mental clarity and that focus that normally most of us don't have mid afternoon on a Wednesday, right?
Yeah, I mean these are all tools, right? It's like I said in the beginning, you don't need them, but man, do they help? And they can provide a little bit of oomph in your day to make decisions that are better for you, right? Because you have higher energy. So yeah, I think adding them into your daily life can be beneficial.
One of the other things, and I think this is great to point out again and to remember, we're not talking about hacks or shortcuts because that's really not what you're doing. Is you're elevating, you're actually gaining and multiplying value from effort you're already putting forth, right? This isn't a shot that's going to make you lose weight. Like this is actually just something that's going to maximize and multiply your existing effort and give you more of a return. It's like making a higher interest rate or making a greater return on a stock investment than maybe what the market has. You're going to get a 10x instead of a 5x. But you put forth all the money to buy the stock to get the 5x. It's just there's more value available to you if you do these other things. And yeah, it takes a little bit of investment to purchase those supplements or to buy a cold plunge or to do things that are you got to put some effort in. There's a time cost, right? An effort cost. There might be a financial cost, but if you're really trying to be your best self, and if you're like we believe here, and I know Canyon and I are very in alignment in maximizing the value that you create with the way you spend your time in your life, and these are just some tools, like you said, Canyon, to help people to achieve a greater result from the extra effort they're already putting in, and that they should be able to get access to. When we talk about future guests, I mean we're gonna start having guests. Obviously, we're just launching this together, having a conversation about why this podcast, why Primal Performance Sups, how do we get here in this place where we want to share and elevate the conversation and bring other people in. What types of guests, Canyon, do you look forward to having on the podcast? What types of conversations are you hoping to have here?
Yeah, I mean, I think fitness is just a piece of the puzzle, right? I think it's an
Mm-hmm.
important, cornerstone piece. Uh, but I'd love to see guests that talk about business, talk about
Mm-hmm.
the mental side of things, the spiritual side of things, right? Because we have physical, mental, spiritual, right? And I think those three are super important to get tuned into, right? Because what's the point of having six pack abs and feeling jacked if you hate yourself, quite honestly, and don't feel that joy or happiness in life, right? And I feel like if you can combine those three, you can really set yourself up to live, and not only have joy for yourselves, but be able to help other people have that happiness and get to that place where they want to be.
Yeah, it's funny that I had a phrase pop in my head when you were talking about that, and I use it sometimes too. I hear people say, I'm fat and happy, and but you really think about that. It doesn't mean you can't have joy or be fulfilled if you're overweight or if you're
Mhm.
a fat person, you know. But you certainly are not limitless. You most certainly are not your healthiest, best self if you're overweight. And I'm not talking, based on. I mean, statistically, I've been morbidly obese since I was like a sophomore in high school. That's because I was skinny and had six packs then, but a six pack abs. But I just have a dense body. I mean, my frame is just heavy for what it is. I'm not talking about that kind of stuff. I'm talking about generally, you know, you have excess weight on your body that isn't serving you, right?
I think the thing to look at too is like, yes, assess and reflect. Where are you right now? But don't dwell on that. I think what we need to focus on is what are we doing every single day to progress and achieve, or at least take the steps to get to where we want to be, right? I think that a lot of times we get caught up in, oh, I'm this right now. I'll never be, successful, or I'll never lose weight. But I think, yeah, we need to be honest with ourselves and hold ourselves accountable to where we are in our life. And if we're not in the spot we want to be, okay, what do we have to do to every single day to change that? I think that's what's important to focus on.
Yeah, I've got a friend, and he's overweight, and I mean, significantly overweight. And I've talked to him a few times, and I've asked him, "Hey, we should go on a hike," and he's like, "Do I look like I like hiking?" And I'm like, "Well, maybe not, but that doesn't mean you wouldn't like hiking, you know?" And he's like, "Yeah, I don't really like hiking." And I'm like, "Well, it's because you haven't been. Maybe if you go, you will like it." And he's like, "Yeah, I don't want to go hiking." But it's because of that physical limitation. It's because he's not in shape to where hiking would be a fun experience for him. And so it's not that everyone has to hike. I mean, but man, I love hiking. I mean, I love all sorts of things about that. I'm mostly, the beauty and the beautiful places and nature and being up in clean, crisp, fresh air. Just the mountains they feel like home to me. So I can't imagine in my own skin being happy without having the opportunity to go for a hike. And so if something was in the way of me doing that, I'm now shackled, I'm chained, I'm limited. And I don't want that limitation. Now, if I had the ability to do it and I have the fitness level to do it and I'm not limited by that and I choose to not hike because I just don't enjoy it, then that's a totally different thing. But what we're talking about here is you being the master of your own destiny, you deciding that I choose to or choose not to do these certain things, but there most certainly is no physical limitation, right? That's the first thing. Mentally, I mean, I don't want to go skydiving. Could I skydive? Maybe I'll love it. Maybe I'd be like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I've never done this before. But I don't have any desire to do that. And so I may not ever go skydiving. But if there's a limitation that I can control that's getting in the way of that, it would be good for me to be able to take control of that and move that out of the way so that I can do what I feel compelled to do and not have those limitations put on me. So does that make sense to you? I mean, how does that align with how you view things?
I had a question while you were talking.
Mm-hmm.
So, we talk about these things like for you, right? You have the friend about hiking, and they don't like hiking, but they don't know because they haven't tried it or are in that they don't have that foundation to be able to enjoy it, right?
Yeah.
So for you in your experience, what kind of turned the switch for you to really focus on your physical health? You were talking about, you were hunting, you were hiking. So what in that moment you made that decision? Okay, I'm going to switch things up, and I'm going to start focusing on, becoming a healthier version of myself. Okay, that's in that moment. That's great, right? But what about the next day? Like, how did you keep and build that habit to continue becoming a healthier version of yourself? Because it's hard. It's hard to stay consistent.
Yeah, it is hard. And the first thing I did, which it's easier to do this now on, I think, social media and other things where I have more accountability partners. Um, I told people, I said, you know what? I'm going to get in shape. I'm going to start running. And the one thing that, and I've had, especially when I first started, I had a lot of people, connections online and otherwise that asked me, how did you do it? How did you keep going? Um, I went slow. I was very deliberate. Basically, I started with a goal and said, I'm going to run 250 miles by Easter. And so the beginning of that year, after that season, this was late October, almost November. So I decided, and I started working out and getting a little bit more into shape, but I physically started running basically the new year. I used to be big into New Year's resolutions. I'm not now. Now I just, why wait till the calendar tells me? Like, if I believe I need to do something, I can just do it now. I don't need to wait. But at that time, that was very motivational for me, making those New Year's resolutions. So I determined I was going to run 250 miles by Easter. So I broke that down So I realized, okay, I got to run about 20 miles a week. How am I going to do that? And it was hard for me at the time to even run a 5K, 3.1 miles. And so I just made a rule for myself that I'm never going to stop moving. Even if I have to walk, that's fine. Walking, running didn't matter. The time didn't matter. Put the watch away. We'll worry about my times and my pace later once I have a little bit of a foundation. So I think just giving myself permission to take it slow, as long as I was intentional and deliberate about it, and as long as I didn't quit or stop. And sure enough, the Saturday before Easter, I hit 256 miles. And so then when I achieved that goal, I thought, okay, I was training actually to ultimately run a marathon a few months later, but I had decided, well, if I, you know, Easter was about the end of 3 months of the year, just the beginning of April. So I thought, well, if I extrapolate that out, that's 1,000 miles this year. I'm just going to keep doing that. And so I basically did the same thing, thought, okay, I got to get 20, 25 miles a week. And pretty soon I was running 10 miles per run, but I wanted to run more than twice a week. So I was running 30 or 40 miles a week. And then I mean, after I achieved that 250 miles, I went from hating running to absolutely loving it and looking forward to it. I mean, I was running at lunch at work in my Levi's. I mean, I just wanted to run. And so that really flipped the switch for me, where I went from detesting running unless I was chasing a ball or chasing somebody with a ball, to actually enjoying the actual running itself. And ultimately that turned into trail running, which now I apply my love for the mountains with my running. And now I've got two for one. Every time I run, I'm running in a place that I love and enjoying that type of terrain and country and that rugged, beautiful scenery, and also still getting that physical fitness that I really wanted. So that's what did it for me.
Yeah, I mean, I like that. I like that. You know what you said basically is in the beginning, you had a goal and you broke it down and you started slow. You your main focus was constant progression, no matter how little, right? And I think, I mean, maybe in the beginning you were focused on the goal of 250, right? But it sounds like after you loved the day to day action of it, right? You hear fall in love with the journey, right? Not the destination. And I think that goes for anything. In the beginning, you're not going to love the journey because it's probably hard and you've never done it. And I think that if you can stack small wins, eventually you'll grow and become good at that thing that you used to detest, like you said. Um, yeah, I love that. I try to apply that in every aspect of my life.
Yeah, it's a lot of wisdom for a 26-year-old. So I think too, um, the bigger part for me is that because I do love the mountains, I love bow hunting, I love getting up, I love being fit, I love all of that stuff too. Now it's training. I mean, you've seen me over the years, mowing the lawn with a 150-pound pack on, or doing things that just seem kind of ridiculous and pointless and weird, even maybe. But it's like, how do I take what I'm doing every day and turn it into something that actually improves me and gives me a drive for something bigger? And so for me, my regular why, aside from um, being a better hunter or being more fit in the mountains or being more limitless when I'm trying to get up on a herd of elk, or get up on that mule deer buck, that's 2,000 feet elevation higher than where I am right now. It's also, I always say, training for life. I mean, I'm running for my life. It's not
Yeah.
running for your life because you're in danger. It's running for your life so that you have a more fulfilling existence, so that you're more limitless day to day, so that you feel like you can do whatever you want. And I think, just as a human being, that primal nature in all of us to say, I'm in charge. I'm in control, and I'm doing this because I choose to and I want to, and it brings me joy. Versus, I have to do this because this, or I don't have any choice. I'm forced because of this other situation. I'm forced to go to this job that I hate because I have debt and I have bills and I've got to keep the lights on and keep food in the refrigerator. Well, that's a horrible, horrible reason to go to work every day. And as far as purpose and having meaning and joy in your work in that journey, that's really hard to do if you don't love what you do. So um, I think it translates all across every part of your life. Um, and so I think if I was going to say here's one key to having a more meaningful and joyful life and existence, it's find something that you love, do it for the right reasons, and eventually you'll find that other purpose and passion within that daily activity to where you grow to love that thing that you're doing, and you're doing it now as much because you love it as it's because you need to do it to provide, or for whatever other reason that you are doing it.
Yeah, I think that's huge. Like, that kind of reminds me of like right now, right? My motives might be a little bit different than yours, right? Maybe in the same
Mm.
category, right? Like what motivates me is building that atmosphere for my family, and that feeling of wanting to, conquer and be great. Um, Whereas like you have that atmosphere already built. You don't, if you wanted to, you don't need to work another day in your life. But like what a lot of people could just be fine sitting back, chilling, like sitting on the couch or golfing every day, whatever, like taking a back seat necessarily. Like what still motivates you every single day to progress in every aspect of your life?
Well, I think it's like as you well know, and other people that know me well. I mean, I've for the software company I helped start 20 plus years ago. I mean, I was traveling to 15, 20 events a year. I mean, on the road, a third of the year, going all over the place, doing trade shows, events, conferences, presentations, sales demos, road tours, all kinds of things. And my drive in that was, yeah, to build a better future for my family. Um, did I find joy in doing what I was? Absolutely. I love helping people. I love getting in there and making a difference. I love, we had a software company built for construction to help construction companies be more profitable and more accurate and be more successful so that they in turn could pay their employees better, right? Treat their clients better, have more profitability at the end of the day so they could reinvest that back into, again, their team. And so I've been blessed to be a part of a lot of really cool stories with companies, taking great care of their employees and their customers, and really just building great businesses. And so I found the joy in that, even though it was hard work, even though it was not a lot of sleep, even though I was on the road all the time. I just found ways to, find the rays of sunlight in that process. But through that, again, I was able to build it to a point where now, we were able to sell that business, and now I can pursue things that I'm passionate about. And it isn't the same reason, as you currently raising a young family and trying to ensure your financial future. Um, yeah, I don't have to do that same thing, but I still have all that passion for being healthy and for having a meaningful life and sharing in the things that I've learned and the wisdom that I've gained. And, going back to my life on the road, lots of times, I mean, I went to Hawaii, I went to Australia, I got to go to some really cool place, New York City and Miami, and, all over the country. I mean, almost all 50 states, internationally, been to Canada a dozen times or more for conferences. Just some beautiful and amazing places. But there was a point where I was kind of over, okay, cool, I'm in Toronto. Okay, well, I've been there before. Okay, I've kind of already seen the things that you see. Oh, now I'm going through Banff National Forests, and I'm going to Lake Louise and Lake Lorraine, and, going through British Columbia, the mountains, and seeing bears and wildlife and mountain goats and, Rocky Mountain Bighorn, and, just really cool things where I didn't want to keep doing those things without having my family or my wife with me when I was doing them. So I really I quit trying to go and see all the cool things and do all the cool stuff when I went to these places, because I was kind of over that initial, wow factor of this is neat. I wanted to share it with the people that I love. And so that's kind of where I'm at now, where it's like, okay, I've been able to achieve a certain level of success, and now I can choose more freely how I spend my time and my resources and my energy. And really, I mean, yeah, you're my son. I mean, I want to help you find that same path. I want to help you pursue your passions. I want to help you find success in something that you're passionate about and you enjoy. I want you to learn how to work hard and be diligent and gritty and grind and figure stuff out like I had to do. But I'm also very passionate about having a meaningful existence, having an impact on people around me, leaving a legacy, not just of of money or financial things or whatever else, but like when I'm gone, when I'm dead and gone, you know what did I leave here that is still living and is still growing and is still meaningful to people. And so, yeah, if I can help people have a better life, if I can help people be more healthy, if I can help people find passion and purpose and be more spiritually in tune and more mentally tough and be more aware of being a provider and being a leader of their family and of their home and of their community because they're living a better lifestyle and they're healthy and they're limitless, man, I can't think of any better way to spend my life than doing that, along with some of the things, along with bow hunting and doing some of the things that I love to do. You can't, I can't golf every day. I mean, I could, and I love golf, but I haven't even been yet this year. It's just not the top of my list. Like, it's not the thing that I wake up in the mornings like, oh, I can't wait to go golf. Now, I enjoy it enough that I could do that, but it's just not what's driving me right now. So I think just still using that wisdom and those experiences that I've gained through my professional and entrepreneurial life, I still want to keep those in play and keep sharpening, that those tools and adding new wisdom and more importantly, helping you gain the same things and find your own journey and passion at the same time. And to me, that's a much more meaningful experience than, just investing in some other business. So with with next guests and with again trying to invite people on that have wisdom to share and experiences that have helped them to shape their success. What are some of the other things in your own mind that um, have kind of bubbled up for you and helped you get to this place where you're like, okay, now I'm ready to actually put this in play and do something about it? Because obviously, you've been passionate about this stuff for 10 years. Why now is it the time that you're like ready to actually hit the road running with this?
Yeah. Um, I mean, I think that it's super easy to get caught up in mentally watching these like videos or podcasts or advice or tips and tricks or this is how you get rich in 15 steps, right? There's only so much that you can listen to, but if you find yourself in the same spot after watching videos, it's like you really haven't learned anything. And
Mm,
for me, I'm sure as many of you are, it's more of a I need my hands on it. I need to actually, be in the trenches. I need to be doing things to actually learn. I think that I kind of got sick of just watching the same type of video or same type of podcast and looking at my life and being like, okay, I mean, cool, still in the same spot. And I think that
yeah.
I don't know who said it, but it's pretty cool, and it's been something I've thought a lot about recently. It's almost worse to be comfortable and okay in a spot, right, than it would be to be absolutely
Mm,
over and sick of the place you're in, right? It's better to be worse off than I'm fine, right? Because
yeah.
feeling worse off or being in a spot where you're like, I'm sick of it, I'm done, my back's against the wall, can't get any worse, you're only you're only steps forward. And I think that I kind of got to that point. I was in a place where it's like, hey, yeah, it's time to start building something.
In other words, motivated to take action. Like, okay, I'm done. And it's the same, on that deer hunt. That's where I was at. I'm like, okay, this sucks. This this is such a great experience, and it sucks. And it's like
Okay.
there was such a dichotomy between those where I was at and how I felt physically and what I should have been feeling based on here's this great buck that I just got, and I feel like garbage, and I can barely breathe, and I might have a heart attack up here on the mountain. And I also,
Yeah.
one other thing, I mean, I'm sure I'll talk more about this over the course of time, but as you know, I mean, my dad died of a heart attack when I was 13 years old. So, and I had 13 siblings, so huge family, 11 kids at home. We had two foster kids when my dad died. I mean, just a really crazy thing that happened. And if it didn't happen to me, I'd hardly believe hearing it from somebody that that kind of stuff happens. But that was another thing that was always in the back of my mind. I always thought I'm not gonna I'm not gonna go through that. I'm not gonna be that guy that
Mhm.
leaves his wife and kids. And not that my dad chose to, but he wasn't healthy. He wasn't living healthy. He wasn't keeping fit. He wasn't mindful of what he was eating or what he was doing. He was overstressed. He had high blood pressure. He was adult onset diabetic. He just did not have a healthy lifestyle. And I just, I mean, how could I ever get over that? Like, man, I just can't do that. And so I knew at that point, like, okay, if I feel like this and I'm in my 30s, I mean, I need to make some changes. I'm 50 now, and I do. Again, my brain thinks I'm 20, but that hasn't been any different. My brain's always thought I was still 20, but my body reminds me sometimes I'm not. It takes longer to heal. I mean, I get sore, and I probably don't move like I used to, but I definitely still get after it. I definitely, and we did a pretty brutal workout yesterday. It was awesome. I was in the heat, and I loved every minute of it. I feel great today. And so um, I think just recognizing that I want more and better. I want to be here for my grandbabies, for the kids that you continue to have. I want to be able to keep up with them and have energy. I want to take them hiking. I want to be in my 70s and my 80s and still cold plunging and still trail running and doing the things that I enjoy so much. And so, I mean, for me, that's the other driver is, how do I prolong this beautiful life that I feel like I have right now and share it more and share the wisdom and experience that I've gained more with my grandbabies and my adult children, as you guys continue forward. So there's just a lot more behind all that than just being fit and being healthy and having a meaningful life. But um, I can say, yeah, I mean, chasing money, it's important to a degree, but you got to balance that. And at a certain point, more money is just more money. It's not what Hollywood or other people tell you that is. I mean, you still have to wake up and, you know, get on with your day. Just the same. It's not, like you can only buy so many things. You can only go on so many vacations. You can only numb yourself with so much stuff, and you're boiled back down to the same basic primal thing of, okay, now what am I going to do with this life that I have? I mean, every day's a gift. I've been given this life. I am blessed to be healthy and strong and fit at 50, but there's still more to get. I can still improve. I can still be in better shape. Um, what can I do to make this existence more exciting and more meaningful and more fulfilling? Well, I want to impart everything I've learned and grown to love on the next generation. I want to share that. And that's how I can continue to live through other people is help them learn what I've learned and avoid some of the challenges that I didn't feel like I needed to have. And, and I think it's that classic, I just want to give back kind of thing, but there's something there to it. And so for me, that's my why. It's, it's not to make more money. I just want to create and share more goodness with other people.
Once your cup's full, any additional water's gonna just spill over and you're going to end up in the same spot, right? So it's about helping other people fill their cup up
Yeah, that's
where people
beautiful.
can
Yeah,
find
that's
fulfillment. So
yeah, that's brilliant. Yeah, pour some of yours off before it spills over. Yeah, I mean, you can upgrade your cup, and there's a certain point where you can't drink everything that's in it, and it's like, okay, now what? Like, well, man, you know, go find some people who need some more in their cup, and it's exactly right. I yeah, I love that. It's a great analogy. So,
yeah.
well, this has been a lot of fun. Looking forward to many more conversations like this, but with some great guests. I think I think it'll be fun to watch your journey, Canyon, as a young entrepreneur and somebody who's ready to take action. And you did solar cells for a bunch of summers. You've been in sales and other things so far, but this kind of stuff's a whole different level than in what you've done so far. So I'm excited to watch you be on this journey and learn from other people that we can bring on and help us to maybe sharpen some of those tools that we still struggle with.
Yeah, yeah, I'm excited to see, what conversations we can have and what we can add to our arsenal as well, right? As well as giving other people those tools and sort of a platform that they can add tools to their arsenal and just grow together. So it's huge.
Beautiful. Well, thanks again for joining us today. We're excited to bring you some more guests here shortly. We're going to